Dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 24th day of May 2019. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable, peaceful, restful evening and that you're raring to go today. Those of you who are on the roads, as is customary, we urge you to obey the rules of the road. Be courteous. If you're a pedestrian, if you're a cyclist, bicyclist, motorcyclist, operating any type of vehicle on the roads, we urge you to be extremely cautious. Always remember that the life you save may be your own. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number. Oh, by the way, today the person who will take your call is none other than DJ Lynn, who's in the control room with us this morning. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. Radio Cayman live stream. Just want to make one correction for those of you who were listening earlier and to the obituaries that were read on the show this morning. The announcement of the death of Mr. Leonard Street as opposed to Leonard Steele, and we apologize for that error. So it should read Leonard Street, Streete, as opposed to Steele. And again, we apologize to family members, friends, and everyone else for that error. And it will certainly be corrected in future announcements for you. So again, our condolences go out to the family of Mr. Street, as well as to the families of all other persons who have passed away in the past few days, few weeks, quite notably in Georgetown again. Some of you know her as YY. YY passed away. Also, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to her family, also the family of Mr. Jim Wood. We want to extend condolences, a well-known businessman, very popular businessman in the Cayman Islands as well. Today, an historic day for the record. We've had two announcements. We had an announcement a few hours ago that Theresa May, UK Prime Minister, will step down as Prime Minister on the 7th of June. Thereafter, there will be a contest for the leadership of the party, and then we'll see where we go from there, whether or not possibly fresh elections will be held. I'm not sure whether or not that will be the case.
You need to go anyway.
Yeah. And we also await the results of the elections for members of the European Parliament, which the polls have closed in the UK. They closed yesterday. But the results of the elections will not be announced until all of the elections are held, and they're being held in different European Union countries at different times. Some were held in some countries yesterday, others it will be so. It won't be until, I believe it is Sunday, the 28th of May, that you will get the final results. I believe her resignation is going to be timely because they will take a drubbing. I believe the polls would have already showed that they, as well as Labour, will take a drubbing in those elections, and the UK Independent Party will probably gain from it. We always talk about the chickens coming home to roost. In the case of Theresa May, that is what is happening. I remember, when she was Home Secretary, she was the person who decided that they would create a hostile environment for immigrants in the United Kingdom. Hence, we saw what occurred with the Windrush generation. So chickens are coming home to roost for Theresa May. But folks, closer to home. It's my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning members of the opposition, MLA Mr. Christopher Saunders, MLA Mr. Alva Suckoo, and what should I say, leader of the opposition appointed MLA Mr. Arden McLean, because that appointment does not take. Is it in effect?
Yes, no.
Despite the fact that Mr. Miller stays on until the 31st of May, has changed?
Yeah, yesterday was with immediate effect.
Oh, with immediate effect. So I can say the honorable leader of the opposition, Mr. V. The V stands for Vincent Arden McLean, historic for the record, because I get the opportunity to interview him first here on For the Record, and you, our listening and viewing audience, get the first opportunity to call in and talk to him if you want to as well. So if you want to be part of history today, that's the way to go about it. So without any further ado, gentlemen, good morning and welcome to For the Record. I think I've had enough to say already this morning.
Good morning, Lucy. And first, I want one of the first also publicly congratulate Arden on his appointment. I think it's timely, and I haven't dealt with him for close to 2 years, and I haven't sat beside him in the LA. He has been, in a sense, a mentor to me in a lot of parliamentary processes and stuff that goes on. He's a wealth of knowledge. I have benefited greatly from it, and I think the country will benefit greatly from him in this new role.
Okay.
Mr. Suckoo? I want to say good morning to yourself and, of course, the listening public, and I also want to offer my congratulations to Arden. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to take that role on and give it deal with it in his special way of dealing with things, and I really do respect his approach to politics. I have learned a lot from this man in the past 6 years and beyond, and he has my full support. I look forward to working with him for the remainder of this term, and I know that he is going to rise to a new level now and give us the leadership that we need to move forward.
Okay, before we pass the mic over to Mr. McLean, one of our listeners wants to know our email address, and it is for the record, one word, for the record, at candw.ky. Mr. Leader, good morning, sir. Congratulations on your appointment, and I know you will do a sterling job. You've been on both sides of the fence now, so what more experience can you ask for?
Thank you, OC, and good morning to you and good morning to the general public. OC, I don't know if my parents never envisaged that yesterday would come to pass. Humble people brought us up in a one-bedroom house. 7 of us and them. But when I look back at how I was raised, I understand that my parents prepared me for this. They prepared me in ways that Caymanians usually prepare their children for the future, with giving them an understanding that honesty carries you much further than dishonesty. Compassion and love for your fellow men. I recall one day my father in his old age was driving the streets and the police kept saying his eyesight was going. And we all met with him to tell him that he couldn't drive anymore, because he was carrying people. He was using his car like a taxi. So the 7 of us were there. And Orly, being the eldest, took the lead role in it and said to him, "Daddy, we need you to stop driving, and you can't be driving people up and down." And he stood right up and he asked if we were finished, and we all said yes. Mm-hmm. And he said to us all, he said, "A day I cannot do a favor for my fellow men is the day I expect you all to bury me." And those were the lessons that I was taught, and that is what I believe has brought me to this point. Let me say how humble I am that my colleagues have reposed such confidence in me. In my 18 years as a legislator, I have learned much. I have tried to contribute to my country as best I could. I believe this is service. When you go into politics, it is in service to people, to your country. And that is how I will leave this arena. It is in service to country. That's the trust that people place in you. They place their entire life in your hand. And I keep telling these 2 young men that I have here with me that we are not running a fish shop. We are running a country. And 65,000 people's lives depends on the decisions we make. And the broader world, many depend on it as well. I will do my best. I will uphold the tenets of honesty, integrity, and justice for all. I will try to lead these 2 young men, because at some stage I have to exit whether I like that or not, whether others like that or not. Exit I must. These are much younger than I am, by 20 years, some of them. That just says to me they're going to be in here long after I'm gone. And that is why I have never reneged on trying to show these young people exactly what needs to happen. The legislature is built on rules, but there are conventions that you only learn from someone who has been there. There is something about longevity in the legislature. It gives you experience, it gives you knowledge, but those experiences and that knowledge must be passed on. The country survives in perpetuity. We don't. But we must prepare those of our people for the future. That is my job. I commit to this country and to my colleagues that I will be open and transparent. If I don't show them, they will not know what to expect when their time comes.
Okay.
I will not be here forever.
Okay, with that, we will take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record with the Honorable V. Arden McLean, Leader of the Opposition, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Alva Suckoo, and we'll talk about that when we return as well, and MLA, Mr. Christopher Saunders. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Before the prevalence of modern medicine, Cayman bush teas were regularly boiled to alleviate complaints and ailments. Some common bush teas included aloe for stomach ulcers and cuts, guava for diabetes and swollen tonsils, verivine for cooling and purifying the blood, leaf of life for colds and sore throats, cerci as a laxative and to relieve itching, headache bush for the killing of blood bacteria and toothaches, white periwinkle for lowering high blood pressure, mint for morning sickness during pregnancy, fever grass for fevers and cold, castor bean to make castor oil, or simply birch tree, which was drunk with a little sweet milk because it was delicious. Information from this historical vignette was sourced courtesy of Mr. Alvin McLaughlin, The History of Agriculture, 50th Annual Agriculture Show magazine. Radio Cayman's historical facts vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
When you need stability, think Business of the Year.
Considering a new career opportunity, think Best Place to Work.
When dependability matters, think Outstanding Workforce.
In need of a reliable financial partner? Think Bank of the Year.
When you seek excellence, think Cayman National.
No matter how many accomplishments we achieve, we always set the bar higher. That's why we are the most awarded bank in Cayman, and we are proud to be your
2018 Bank of the Year.
Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms Program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also completely terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500 like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
It's time for Tool Fest 2019, May 24th and 25th at A.L. Thompson's. Pick up their flyer loaded with the best savings of the season. There are 8 pages filled with deals, and they're just the tip of the Tool Fest iceberg. Save 15% in the entire tool department. Enjoy in-store demos and gifts. Meet with the experts from Milwaukee, Stanley, Makita, and others. The savings don't stop there. Trex Decks, Shop Vacs, and Valspar Paint are all 15% off. Tool Fest on May 24th and 25th, only at A.L. Thompson's.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the newly appointed leader of the opposition, Honorable V. Arden McLean. Also in the studio with us, Mr. Christopher Saunders, and the reappointed deputy leader of the opposition, Mr. Alva Suckoo. So in the press release that was issued yesterday, it has details about Mr. McLean, comments made by Mr. McLean. Also pointed out that Mr. Alva Suckoo has been appointed reappointed as deputy leader, and also thanking Mr. Miller for his contributions that he has made while being leader of the opposition, including the extra 5 months that he was at the helm. So it would appear that there was an agreement, for him to serve for 18 months initially. That I think earlier that had been indicated, but we can come to that later. We don't want to distract from Mr. Suckoo's reappointment as leader of the opposition. Deputy leader, sorry. Deputy leader. See that?
Yeah,
I'm causing chaos already.
Yeah. OC, yeah, I want to congratulate Al as well. And I look forward to working with Al and all the opposition for that matter. This is about working for the benefit of your country. And I should add that the country will see a different brand of how we go about politics. Every leader brings their own brand to politics. The Premier now brought his. The one before him and the one before them brought their own way of getting things done, and that's what will happen to this position. Those who went before me, they each had their own way of doing things, and I have my own way of doing things, but I operate based on effectiveness and efficiency.
Okay,
and it got to be done, and the quicker we get things done, the better off this country will be.
Okay, so we can set the stage for some of the discussions that will take place this morning. And what we would ask you to do is to sort of like lay out a sort of roadmap for the next 2 years before the next election in terms of the approach that could possibly be taken by the official opposition, and the approach in terms of keeping the government accountable, and also the approach for the future in terms of, rather than being the government in waiting, that process where you will attempt to become the government as well. So we'd like to include that in our discussions this morning also. But again, congratulations to Mr. Alva Suckoo. He brings experience to the job because he has served in it for the past 18 months. So in a way, he may be leading Mr. McLean's hand to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is not a one-man show.
Yeah.
We're all in this together,
yes,
see.
Yes. We have about 2 minutes before we go to our break, Mr. Suckoo.
Well, no, I wanted to thank the members of the opposition for their support in reappointing me as deputy. I am humbled by it. I understand the seriousness of the role, and how much the leader is going to depend on an effective deputy to get things done. So I'm committed to doing that. I'm committed to making this the best opposition that to the government that we can make it. Moving forward, I think we have a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of long nights and early mornings, but I think we're all committed to that task now. And yes, as you mentioned, we're not only presenting an alternative or an opposition to the government, but we want to present an alternative to the government as well, and that is our goal. But we have to make sure that the people of this country have that confidence in us that we are capable and able to do that. I believe we are. But the next 2 years, we're going to show the country what our plans are and what we intend to do.
Okay, excellent. We reached time check. It's 1 minute before 8. Folks, the 8 o'clock news will now be brought to you. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news. Lots of things to discuss, and I'm sure that you want to hear from the new leader of the opposition, the Honourable V. Arden McLean.
All right, thank you, Mr. O.C. Time is now 7:59, brought to you by Price Right.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Caymanbrac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
Access information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Government says unemployment in the second half of 2018 fell to 2.8%. Estimates from the Labor Force Survey, LFS Fall 2018, show the unemployment rate at 2.8%, the lowest for the Cayman Islands since fall 2006, when it was 2.6%. The Economics and Statistics Office says it is also significantly lower compared to the unemployment rates in fall 2017 at 4.9%, and spring 2018 at 3.4%. The fall in the unemployment rate occurred amidst a rise in the total labor force by 7.5% to reach 46,178 people. The employed labor force was estimated at about 44,887, an increase of almost 10% when compared to fall 2017. The unemployed labor force was estimated at 1,291, a drop of 38% from the level in the same period a year ago. Employed Caymanians was estimated at 20,751, reflecting a growth rate of about 7% over the fall 2017 estimate. The number of unemployed Caymanians fell by 34% to settle at just under 1,000 people, resulting in an unemployment rate of 4.6%. The Cayman Islands Society of Human Resources Professionals is gearing up for its 16th annual conference later this month. Board member Felicia Deslantes tells Radio Cayman the theme is connecting the dots, which resonates for HR professionals who are expected to function in a constantly shifting landscape.
This theme combines topics such as governance, diversity, achieving advancement, crafting culture, and committing to our communities.
The conference is taking place at the Ritz May 30th and 31st. In regional news, the National Water Commission in Jamaica is reporting that at least 4 of its water supply systems have dried up as a result of ongoing drought conditions in sections of the island. The NWC says its Higdon Town, Dawson, and Content plants in St. Anne are all out of water. So too has the Violent Bank system in rural St. Andrew. Further, the commission says 4 other systems have each declined to as little as 9 to 10% of normal production. The Jamaican Utility Company reports that about 90 of its 450 water supply systems island-wide are now being affected by varying degrees because of the drought conditions. The NWC says the most affected systems are in the Eastern Division. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Eileen McHugh. The British Prime Minister Theresa May has announced she will leave office as she hasn't managed to bring the UK out of the European Union. She said she was grateful to have served the country she loved, but someone else should take up the Brexit challenge. Mrs May will resign as her party leader in 2 weeks' time, but remain Prime Minister until a successor is chosen. Conservative MPs of various persuasions are jostling to take over. A front-runner is the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, who adopted a pro-Brexit stance months before the 2016 referendum. There have been warm tributes to Theresa May from European Union leaders. The head of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, described her as a woman of courage whom he very much liked. There's a curfew in parts of Indian-administered Kashmir. The authorities are trying to prevent the spread of street protests against the security forces' killing of a wanted militant leader, Zakir Musa. Parliament has met in Thailand for the first time since a military coup 5 years ago, but the chamber is dominated by pro-military parties. A former US Marine who's being held in Russia on spying charges has appeared in a Moscow court and denounced his interrogator. Paul Whelan said the FSB captain had insulted his dignity and threatened his life. The court agreed to the intelligence service's request to extend his detention by 3 more months. US media reports say the disgraced former Hollywood film producer Harvey Weinstein has reached a compensation agreement with victims of his sexual harassment. It does not affect the criminal investigation into Mr. Weinstein. And anti-government protesters have demonstrated in the Algerian capital for the 14th Friday in succession. Witnesses say police have endeavoured to limit the mass protests, making more arrests than usual. The presidential election is planned for early July. BBC News.
Access. Information. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
BritK protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
this week at Kirk Home Centre. Get your green thumb going with 8-inch square planter pots starting at $9.49. And keep plants blooming with a half-gallon watering can for $4.69. And grass growing with an 8-pattern sprinkler for $9.99. Cook rice perfect every time with a 16-cup rice cooker from Black & Decker for $34.99. And save on 12-volt cordless drills from Bosch for $259.99.
Kirk's Home Center. We got a great deal in store for you.
Pleasant good morning once again with a look at the latest weather update. This is the official public weather forecast prepared by the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. Temperatures outside are currently 83 degrees. Winds are coming in from the east at 10 knots. Current humidity is at 88%. Barometric pressure is at 1013.3 millibars and rising. Synopsis today indicates slight to moderate winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with a high pressure over the eastern U.S. Isolated showers are also expected as an upper level trough over the northwest Caribbean lingers. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area moving towards the northwest. Forecast for today, partly cloudy skies, 30% chances of showers, as well as temperatures are expected to rise to the upper 80s. Winds are going to be east to northeast, 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. And taking a look at tonight, expect partly cloudy skies, 30% chances of showers. Temperatures will fall to upper 70s. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots. Seas expected to be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. And taking a look at low tide today at 9:12 a.m., high tide at 2:11 p.m., and a low tide at 8:16 p.m. Sunset in the Cayman Islands, 6:55 p.m. Sunrise bright and early tomorrow, 5:48 in the beautiful Cayman Islands. Outlook is for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning as the upper level trough lingers over the northwest Caribbean. For additional information, please visit the website at www.weather.gov.ky. This has been an official public weather forecast prepared by the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. And once again, as we turn our attentions over to the streets, coming in from the east, slow-moving traffic as you head on towards Lantern Point and the Prospect area. Things begin to slow down as you head around the Kings Roundabout and moving on to the Linford Pearson Highway. Stop-and-go traffic, of course, by the airport as well. Things begin to slow down by the C&B Roundabout. And slow to moderate traffic in and around the Butterfield Roundabout area as you head in and out of the Industrial Park area. Taking a look at Godfrey Nixon, all is clear as you head on towards Eastern Avenue. A steady flow of traffic on Shedden Road and smooth flowing traffic on Edward Street. Coming in from the west, traffic isn't too bad. No incidents reported at this time. If you see something out there, make sure you give us a call at 949-6990. Don't forget to keep it locked right here. For the record, Orrett Connor.
The 18th Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Sunday, June 30th at the Hockwell Theatre, is brought to you by the New Self-Help Community Foundation. This event is proudly sponsored by Rubis Eastern Avenue, Savannah, Red Bay and Jose's, Rainbow Realty, Cayman National, Mitsubishi, Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports, Agriculture and Lands, Barden Corporate Services, L&T Tires, Island Heritage, Reliable Industries, Markson's Furniture, Ministry of Health and Culture, and Muck Ross. Prepaid tickets for the 2019 Talent Exposition of the Arts at the Hockwell Theatre are available at Funky Tanks and Winter Circle Sports for $10 or $15 at the gate.
How would you like to drive off in a brand new 2019 all-white Mercedes-Benz CLA 250? On Saturday, June 1st at Mango Tree, you could be that lucky person. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents its annual charity fundraising event
Benzorama 2019. That's right, one lucky winner will be announced at the Mango Tree on Saturday, June 1st, and that lucky winner could be you.
If you don't have a ticket, you don't have a chance.
Tickets are $25 each, or 5 tickets for only $100. Proceeds from the funds raised go towards various Lions community projects. Tickets can be purchased online at eventpro.ky or stop by one of our ticket outlets, including Radio Cayman Studios, Funky Tangs, South Coast Bar, Reflections Food for Less, and West Bay Road SO, or can be purchased from any of our active Lions community members. Benzorama 2019. We are all winners once you support the Lions and our community.
Place household garbage in large bags prior to its placement in a garbage container to avoid spillage during collection. A suitable garbage container must be made of sturdy materials that will allow it to withstand weathering. A tightly fitted cover is also necessary to keep out water and stray animals. Do your part. Keep your surroundings clean. Store household garbage in a suitable garbage container. For more tips on proper waste packaging, please visit DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Vincent Arden McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Alva Suckoo, and the MLA, Mr. Christopher Saunders. One of our listeners has written in, and I'm going to basically try to paraphrase this. They're basically querying the fact that MLA Mr. Anthony Eden was not in the photograph and no mention was made of him in the press release.
Let me say that I was going to say that and it slipped me this morning.
Okay.
I want to wish Tony well. Tony is currently at the hospital, and this week he and his wife has been having a few procedures done.
Okay.
And that's why he wasn't there yesterday.
Okay.
And this morning again, as a matter of fact, he had to be there at 7:30. But Anthony is no less on board than the rest of us. Anthony has given me his commitment, and when Anthony gives me his commitment, I have known Anthony long before politics. And he's the person who keeps the ship on the even keel and ensure that the wind doesn't, that we trim our sails right. I can assure this country that...
And your moral compass as well, too.
I signed the letter also, because the letter was signed by the 4 opposition members that we sent to the governor.
Great.
So
and Anthony has always been a breath of fresh air for me. I said to these the other day that I had the best teachers in the world in politics. Unfortunately, those are no longer around. Therefore, I have to step up. People like myself and the Premier. I had the best teachers. The Premier and I had the best teachers in the world. We had Mr. Anthony Eden. We had Edna Moyle, bless her soul. We had Captain Mabry, bless his soul. We had McKeever Bush. We had Linford Pearson. We had Roy Budden, Gilbert McLean, Kurt Tibbetts, Frank McField, Juliana O'Connor. They all had more than 8 years when we... Well, Frank was the only one had 4.
And Julie came in 96.
Yeah, Julie had 8 when we got there.
No, man. She was 96, she came in.
4 years anyway.
Yeah.
And then we had Jimmy Ryan, who was Chief Secretary. And last but by no means least, we had Mr. Glidden. And...
What was the
sergeant? I said Linford.
Oh, yes,
I said
okay.
Linford. These were the people who charted my course in politics. And if we interview Alden, the Premier, he will tell you the same thing. I'll never forget. We had been there then 6-8 months. And every night, the Premier and I would stay up and write speeches. And we would turn up to the Legislative Assembly with these big 3-inch 3-binder folders. And never forget it. Alden was going at the government and reading his speech, as he so frequently liked doing, and flowery words and stuff. And Linford got up, and he got up on a point of order. Captain Mabry recognized him. He said, Mr. Speaker, I would just like to remind those 2 young men over there that this is not a reading class, this is a debating house. And that was the end of our writing of any speeches. Those were lessons that we learned.
That can't have been forgotten. None of them what readers we have.
but see, I actually had a similar experience with Mr. McLean over here, because I used to do the same thing. I would write my speeches and come in. This is, early in the first term, and stand up and read instead of debate. And at one point, he looked at me across the floor. This is when I was with the Progressives, and he said, "Look, if you keep reading your speeches, I'm going to embarrass you. Go do it again." And that was the last time I read it. And
we are getting soft now. We are getting soft. I mean,
but there were lessons, and that's what it's about. And Anthony, I see. Anthony taught us, did something to me. When you remember, just before the last election, we had the legal practitioners bill, and Winston, myself, Alva, and Ezra were going at them strong. I was leading that charge. So Anthony wasn't saying much. And when Anthony went out the chamber and he came back and he said, "Arden, I need to see you all." Because Alden had asked us, the Premier had asked us to meet with him. We said, "We're not meeting with you. We're going to bring these 150 amendments to this thing that we have proposed." And Anthony went out and he come back and he said, "I need to see you all." And of course, if Anthony didn't say he needs to see you, then you better respond. So we went there, and me, Winston, Alva, and Ezra, and he looked at us and he said, "Listen, we go and meet with them guys. You just arrange it. We have to meet with them. We cannot go on like this. This country expects better out of us." Not one word was said. We left his company, and we went and arranged a meeting with Alden. And we went into the big committee room. That is what Anthony brings to the table. He brings that moral compass. He brings that overwhelming sense of integrity and rule of law and keeping that boat steady. And when we come in 2017, when Al came, when Chris came in, and prior to that, when the new ones came in, I would always tell them, a couple people in here, you don't go after, or you be very careful how you go at them. One of them is Anthony Eden, because no one beats up on Anthony Eden in politics, because that's not the man we know. Mm-hmm. Anthony is one of the strongest forces this country could have ever elected in the Legislative Assembly in his own way.
I'll say this much. I have been on the other side of politics where Mr. Eden is concerned. And since being elected, I have found a respect for him that you would not appreciate it until you sit inside that house. But I can tell you one thing, there's a reason he seconds all my motions too, and the reason he goes through a process, because when he starts questioning you in terms of why you're doing it and what you're looking to achieve, and you go through that rigorous thing there to get his approval to second the motion, then you'll understand why. Because he forces you to think things through before you go to him to even ask him to sign it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I think I've gotten away with some of my motions, most of my motions being accepted. It's just by that check that he brings along the process to make sure that I've actually thought something through. So I am, and I wish him and his wife, Miss Ellen, all the best in terms of what it is that they're doing. And I can tell you one thing, Sean, I love him. Because the amount of times you get a call, Chris has left something at your door for you. You know what I mean? No, listen, Sean, even the other day, Sean said to me, what Chris at the rate is going, I think I'm going to have to move Savannah. I mean, you forget, I'm a voter too. I expect to be getting, you name it. But it's those things that let people know someone is thinking about you.
Yes. And the other thing that I told you is, every now and again, I would hear this knock on the door at my house, early in the morning or late in the evening. And this has gone on for years. And get to the door, it's Ellen or Anthony, and I can see the other one on the driveway because you don't see one without the other.
Yep.
And Ellen will have a little bag, and there's one mango in it. Who gives anybody one mango? People give you a plant of mangoes when they get those were the first ones that ripe on that tree.
Yeah, first crop.
Let me tell you something. You can't replace that. One mango, because those were the first ones ripe on the tree. That's that Anthony and I know. And prior to politics, when he and I were in the same type of business, trucking water, Anthony would take his motor off of his truck and put it on my truck because we had the same motors, and help me put that on my truck so I could go and deliver my water. That's the Anthony Eden I know. That's the Anthony Eden that people in this country revere, and we see how many times they have returned him. That's the Anthony Eden I've known for many years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk now about the roadmap for the opposition? Some of the first things that, as an opposition, as a leader of the opposition, that you will be doing. When is the House likely to meet again? Talk about the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee. I think there was one press release that mentioned the fact that customarily the leader of the opposition is usually chosen as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. If you can enlighten our audience in relation to some of those issues, I'm sure that they're quite curious to know.
First of all, O.C., let me write down PAC so I can remember it. First of all, the first thing is people have to understand that the role of the leader of the opposition is a role that involves working closely with the government in governance of the country. There are a number of areas that I will be very influential in, appointing people to major committees, commissions and boards, sitting on the National Security Council, leading the opposition to the government, working with on PAC, working with the Premier directly on matters relating to the governance of the country. That I will give. The Premier wrote me last night, and I will respond to that today, giving him my commitment to carrying out that role as robustly as I can. Then we have to look at providing an alternative to the government, and we have to develop a structure whereby it is made up of independently minded individuals, but certainly with the goal and ideals of the country moving forward and in the direction that we believe is an alternative to the government. Because the country, not everybody is going to be rich in this country, but everybody must prosper And that's one of our goals, prosperity in this country. Everybody must prosper. With regards to the and these guys are going to weigh in on some of the issues that we have to deal with, because it's not a one-man show. They're part of this too. On the matter of PAC, this has been talked about for quite some time now. But the other thing that has been talked about is the independence and whether or not they can run a country and what have you. I will deal with that on the 5th of next month without being acrimonious about it. Mm-hmm. But many of us need to go back into our memory, and those who don't remember, I'll remind them. Those who don't know, I will enlighten them about our political history. Because if there's anyone who has followed that, it has been me. This country was developed. This country's success is at the feet of independently minded representatives. There has, in recent times, in all our history, well, except the 60s, there are probably 3 people in our legislature that was elected on party. Every one of us ran as independent the first time. Every one of us. The advent of party systems was in 2001. Those of us who have forgotten...
In modern times.
In modern times, yeah. Those of us who have forgotten, try to remember November the 8th, 2001, which was the anniversary of the election of 2000, when we removed Kurt and Edna from cabinet. Those of us, we need to remember that. Each of us were independent members. We had groups, but we were calling ourselves independents. We would run with each other. I think Alden and Kurt ran in 2000 together, but they were independent members. We didn't have an apartheid system. So this country was built on the independent from the day of the vestrymen. So let's not forget that. Let's not say and to be so disrespectful to independent representatives is disingenuous.
Okay.
On the matter of PAC, you say it's commonplace for the leader of the opposition to be...
There was a statement made to that effect, yeah.
It is not. The only time that we have had the leader of the opposition as chairman of the PAC is now. That's it.
Didn't Mark have it?
No, he was a member.
I think he was.
It was Ezard was chair when McKeewa was a member. Yeah, that's 2013 onwards.
Yeah,
yeah. When I went into politics in 2000, Ralston was chairman. We have had Ralston. We have had
Roy briefly.
I was a member in 2000, 2005. We have had Ozzy. We have had Deputy Premier.
Okay.
We have always argued that it should be the leader of the opposition. We have always argued, but thankfully Alden adhered to that and acquiesced to that argument, because he was one of those who argued for it too. Alden, when he was leader of the opposition, was not on the PAC.
Okay. With that, we're going to take a break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
Are you tired of shifting everything around in your refrigerator to make room for all your family's assorted beverages? Brand Source Home Gallery has great solutions. Come in now through Monday the 27th and save 20% on our great selection of wine and beverage coolers. Brand Source has a large selection of brands, colors, depths, and heights available for any of your beverage needs. Let our friendly, helpful staff help you now through Monday the 27th and save 20% on all wine and beverage coolers at Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for details.
My dad is the best. He was always there to protect me and guide me to be a better person. He helped shape me into the woman that I am today. But I was never prepared for the day that I had to protect and take care of him. It was terrifying and a total role reversal. But I will always be there for him like he was for me. When it comes to his medical care, I go where he always did, West Bay Pharmacy.
We know the difficulty of caring for elder family members. At West Bay Pharmacy, we can help assist you with caring for your loved ones by providing quality medicine and some of the most efficient home healthcare items possible. We provide precise calculations with your prescriptions to ensure your medical safety. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, newly appointed leader of the opposition, Honorable V. Arden McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Mr. Alva Suckoo, and Member of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Christopher Saunders. Before we went to the break, we were talking about chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee, and off air we had a pretty good discussion on that, and I'd like to share that with my audience as well. But before we go there, I just want to follow up on something that Mr. McLean pointed out to us on a particular date, 2001, 2001,
8th of November.
November 2001, and he speaks to the fact that they were all independents at that point in time, maybe running as a group. But isn't it also instructive that is the one time in the Cayman Islands that we had a change in leadership, something that we don't see too often in the Cayman Islands.
We had it twice.
In the governance of
we
the
had
Cayman
it twice.
Islands.
Yeah, Tom, do you remember? Yeah, Tom.
We had it twice.
Yes.
We had it twice in recent times, since 2000.
But it all occurred when there were no formal parties in place.
Absolutely.
Now that we have formal parties in place, you haven't seen that, or if it takes place, within the party, but not outside the party. I believe we have a caller.
Thank you, O.C.
We have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Georgetown Crown Prince.
Morning, Lord Graham. How are you?
I'm good.
I see you made the front page of one of our newspapers there. The only thing was missing was the football. What happened to it?
Making the front page of some publication. Nothing new. Don't make it look like anything new.
Caymanian Times. You must give them credit.
Yeah. That's a usual thing. And I want to say good morning to the honorable member, and good morning to Mr. MLA Suckoo, and good morning to Chris.
Morning, bro.
Yeah,
Morning.
I want to say congratulations to the new honorable member, and I'm very happy that
Leader of the opposition.
Yeah. I'm very happy that he have decided to step up to the plate to bat for the Cayman people, and then no doubt that's what he will be doing. And knowing him, I know he will be hitting. Now that he's batting for, he'll be hitting a few sixes and occasionally a four, and most of the time hitting it out of the ballpark. That's the type of person he is. He'll go for the top spot, especially when he's dealing with his people. So I'm very happy for that, and I want to say congratulations again. I also would like to remind him that he always reminds us and model himself from the late Warren Connolly, a cousin of ours, actually. And I go back from 1796. We came off that limb, both me and the honorable member. So I want him to be a strong leader like the late Warren Connolly, who wasn't afraid to say that Cayman is for Caymanians and Cayman was not for everybody. So, and there's nothing wrong with being pro-Caymanian. That doesn't mean that you're anti-anyone else. But you be pro-Caymanian, and you would have done your part. You always talk about the real estate is not for you. It's the East End people that put you there. So you do what you got to do for the people, and everything else will fall in place. So I want to say again, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Lord Graham.
And I also want to say, make him know that I grew up in an era where you look up to your elders, and he yesterday or day before yesterday reminded me that you're a little old boy to me, so remind me that he's my elder, So in where I grew up, little old boy look up to the elders, So I'm watching you now. I'm watching you.
Thank you very much, Graham. We grew up in East End, and I'm much older than you, though, so don't make people believe that. But, we grew up in East End, and there were certain principles that were instilled in us. And yes, I am pro-Caymanian. Those are the only people I know. And my job, I believe, is to ensure that there is a balance to ensure Caymanians prosper in their own country. And I believe that is important.
And just before I go, I want to say that I know that you will make it well. You will be on the same page with your deputy. I understand Mr. Suckoo, MLA Suckoo is your deputy. And your roots are deep because you grew up 300 feet away from where his mother and uncles grew up and still is,
and his mother as well, yeah.
And his mother, that's what I say, his mother. Yeah. So, and you and him can go back to that and work things out under the tree, like how your father and his grandfather did, Yeah. And to solve all the problems under one great tree.
That's right.
Remember
them June plums you used to take from his grandmother?
Yeah, but we didn't used to have to take them. His grandmother was the nicest person in his day.
Right.
Yeah, Miss Ruby.
She used to have them ready in the shopping bags for you to take.
Them ready for us, yeah. Nice lady. I just hope that Mr. Suckoo take a little bit from her and be a nice person to me.
All right. I'll remember that. But I want to thank you as well, Graham. And rest assured, a lot of people will don't know what happens behind the scenes. But Arden and I have our moments where we go at each other and we tell each other off and we argue about things. But that is how we resolve things and move forward. It's not always, smiles and hugs. In this business, you have to be strong, and he is a strong leader. So you have to deal with him on a certain level. He's going to be very strong in his opinion, and you have to be strong in yours. But at the end of the day, you have the assurance and the confidence that what he's trying to teach you or where he's trying to lead you is where you should be going.
Yeah,
And Graham, before you go on, I just want to remind you, right, that something happening next week. and it's the 125th year celebration of the Adventists being in this country.
Yes.
And for the benefit of those who don't know, and for the benefit of the country, Adventist was started in East End. And it was started by none other than Gilbert McLaughlin, who's the great-grandfather of the Premier.
Yeah.
Mr. Allen McLaughlin's father started Adventist in Cayman in East End, and that celebration is going to be going on the 1st of June. So let's not dismiss the role that EastEnders played in the development of this country. We have always been at the forefront. Maybe that's because we have been so isolated up there that we pushed to make sure that we were involved. But that is another milestone in this country's history. And the Premier, and you know, the Premier grandfather was a legislator too. And the Civic Centre is named after him. And it is only fitting that part of that celebration be held in the presence of the Premier in the Civic Centre that was named after the son of the man who introduced Adventists to this country.
Yep. Okay.
All right, Lord Graham. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
take
Graham.
care.
Thank you, Graham.
We have about 3 minutes before we go to our next commercial break. So,
Chris?
No, I am. That's one of the things I want to put out there, and I don't want to put Arden on the spot, but just so the public is aware. I mean, when we sat down to even have this discussion in terms of what the next leader of the opposition would have been, I think it's important for the public to know that Arden did have a conversation with us to say, guys, it doesn't have to be me, and if one of you want to do it, you have my full support. And I think it's important for the public to recognize that. I mean, we are where we are originally in that, even going back to the genesis of when we started out, he did said to us, I think it's time now for your generation to play a more active role, and he would be contented to play a supporting role. And having been there 2 years in and recognize what is required of the role in terms of the knowledge of the standing orders and everything else. I mean, having been inside there, you cannot... I can tell you from experience, I mean, well, for the limited experience that I have, I mean, when you look at Miss Julie, you look at the Premier, you look at Arden, you look at Ezard, and to some extent, the Speaker. I mean, these are people in Mr. Eden that knows these standing orders inside out. And when people say to us, Chris, as a young guy, why don't you take the roles? I'm like, on the government side, you have very formidable, representative in terms of the Premier and Miss Julie in terms of even a role before as a Speaker. Then you also have the Speaker in the chair too. So you have three very formidable people who know those standing orders. And for you to operate and get an agenda through the Legislative Assembly, you need to be able to maneuver certain things. And you have to be really confident in yourself or really at loss to think that as a young new legislator coming in, you will have what it takes to go challenge the Premier. I mean, and like I said, he is a formidable politician. You have Miss Julie over there, and you can see when she draws him in to pass on that advice. And even the Speaker. I mean, there are three formidable members on the government bench. And so you need somebody formidable. I can tell if it wasn't going to be Arden, it would have been Mr. Tony. But either way, it was something that you recognize that it takes years of experience. When I meet the other night in Bordentown, and an issue came up which even predates my election, and I was glad Mr. McLean was there because he was able to put things in context to say, well, this is what had happened, and here was my position then, and this is what we saw coming. And it is that level of longevity and experience, because this is a business. It's fine for me to have ideas and want to push certain things through. But if you don't understand the legislative process, you can have stuff dead on arrival before you go around. And I can tell you, even with regard to motions that I would have, and like it's having those discussions with Mr. Eden, it then forces you to go to the government members and say, well, guys, I'm bringing this motion. Can I get your support? Can I get this? And you have those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you're not willing to have those conversations, you're not going to get anywhere. You know what I mean? And so it is kind of part of that process. And one of the things I wish the public would see more of is when the house is on break and we're in that lunchroom or wherever, there's a certain amount of camaraderie. And there's no one disliking anyone. There's no hatred. I mean, most of the jokes I get on the side there is between the Premier and Arden. Because at the end of the day, everyone in the house know that regardless of where they sit, nobody goes between that relationship between the two of them. You know what I mean? You do not go inside because the two of them will get together and beat you too. You know what I mean? So it is part of the process. But what people need to recognize is that, and this is what we need to get back to in Cayman, democracy itself was born out of recognizing that we'll have differences and we'll have disagreements. But what it says is that we must have debate, we must have discussion, and then we must come to consensus. But what we've been trying to have from the other day is to have consensus without the debates and without the discussion. And that is where we have fell down along the way. And I think that's what we need to start working on fixing.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. Conversation with Leader of the Opposition, Mr. V. Arden McLean, Honorable V. Arden McLean, Mr. Alva Suckoo, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and MLA Mr. Chris Saunders will continue after this short commercial break.
Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
They say cleaning your house never killed anyone, but why take chances? Spend your time doing what you love and leave the rest to Roper's Janitorial. Complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential with 24-hour emergency service. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511. Email janitorial@ropers.ky. Take back your life and get the job done right the first time. Roper's Janitorial, 949-2511.
Emma, what do you think of when you hear Toastmasters?
Honestly, I think of people raising glasses and making a toast.
Really? Well, that's far from what we do. Why not come out to our event, Sounds of Expressions?
Ooh, tell me more.
Well, it's going to be an awesome evening of intimate poetry, live music, and refreshments. Come out and enjoy a little taste of the diverse talents of our Toastmasters. So, will you be there?
Of course, girl. How can I not? Poetry, live music, food, I won't miss it.
Fantastic. Now don't forget Georgetown Town Hall, May 29th at 6 p.m. Admission only $10.
A Toastmasters fundraising event proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman,
Star 92.7,
Audio Wave,
The Performance Lab,
FunFet,
Acorn Publishing, and Sing's Roti Shop.
Sounds of Expressions. Visit Sing's Roti Shop for tickets. All proceeds go to our youth leadership program.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're having a discussion with the newly appointed Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Arden Emily, Honorable Arden McLean, Deputy Leader of the Opposition, MLA Mr. Alva Suckoo, and member of our Legislative Assembly, Mr. Christopher Saunders. I'd like to start out now by talking about the relationship with what the three of you see as the relationship between the opposition and the government moving forward. We're 2 years away from the next election. Some people say, well, as soon as a politician gets elected, he's campaigning for the next election. There's no doubt that 2 years, things will start to heat up a bit. The opposition as well as the government will be positioning themselves to a certain extent, be in election mode. We know that the former leader of the opposition pledged his support for the government in certain areas that he would support them. One of those was the constitutional changes that were being sought in the UK. Can you point out areas where you can see yourself working with the government and those areas that are likely to be contentious between now and the next general election?
Well, first off, each of us recognize the value the financial industry has to this country. Mm-hmm. I mean, over 50% of our GDP it can be attributed to our financial industry. The people need to know that has to be one of the priorities for all of us as legislators. Mm. I mean, Chris knows much more about it than I do, but certainly we have demonstrated that we support matters relating to the financial industry, and the government can rest assured that is what is going to happen. Now, I question the more recent one, substantial presence in the Cayman Islands, and I was concerned that we were going to give them LCCL. Those are my concerns because and that's LCCL for local companies control license, to allow that. I was concerned, and I'm watching that closely to see if that means then that they're going to compete with small businesses in our country, mm-hmm. because it must be first to protect those businesses to ensure that Caymanians can get opportunities in there. I'm not going to oppose for opposition's sake. We have never done that. But certainly there are things the government will bring. I see them bringing a motion now to do a rezoning. I do not support rezoning on a piecemeal basis. I never did. I believe we need to review our development plan. We need to find out from the people what they want to see their country in 20, 30, 40 years from now. And I believe that needs to come from them. But the fact is that we are now reviewing it, and I believe that needs to be fast tracked so that the people can make their wishes known to the legislators. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going. I have never opposed for opposition's sake. There are many things that the government bring, and I don't oppose it. What I would like to see is closer working relationship between myself and the premier, in order that when these things are being brought, that we can get a justification for them in advance. For instance, day before yesterday, mm-hmm. we received notification that the legislatures, was it Wednesday?
The 5th?
The 5th of June.
Did it? No. Was it Wednesday we received that?
Yeah, Wednesday that we received.
We received notification that the legislature is going to start on the 5th of June. Mm-hmm. And then that evening late, we received the bills that were going to be will be addressed. Those are the types of things that I believe we need to work in close with in a better relationship with the government, and in particular the premier or whomever he he appoints as leader of government business, because I believe we need to put somebody. It's time now for us to have a leader of government business. Before we know that as being the person in charge. That's really not what that nomenclature is supposed to be.
It's actually legislative.
Yeah, we just use that as a convenience.
It's a legislative nomenclature, really. Who's leading the government business? Because the government business can get through. The premier don't have to be there. He has other work to do. So those are the things that we need to do. For instance, last meeting, I had a motion in which took precedent over Austin's motion on traffic. And the speaker said, you need to go talk to this young man. I said, okay. He came to me and I said, all right, I'll withdraw mine because I don't want to steal your thunder. Why would I want to steal a young legislator's thunder? And I suggest amend, if you want to amend yours to include mine, but I can still debate it. He never did, but why would I want to do that? That's the kind of cooperation and relationship that needs to be developed in the legislature. Because we play a role. We represent a certain faction of this society. And we represent a certain amount of people that expects no less out of us than the people that the government expect out of them. So we're all in this game together. When I was a minister, before I went to Finance Committee, I did every line item and showed how much I was going to spend, the reason why I was spending it. And when my time came to defend my budget, I distributed that with all the members in the Legislative Assembly. That's why I didn't receive that many questions. And I see Julie just did it the other day as well. You can read for yourself, you have respect for the other person. And so those are the things, I believe, the relationship. But of course, this is politics. And people have to understand that it doesn't make sense of any one of us being there. We all went in there with one goal for the betterment of this country. The only way you can affect your ideals, your objectives, your goals for what you believe the country needs is to be in government. You don't do it from the opposition. So there will always be that element of the politics, and therefore, when the time comes for us to kick that campaign off, we will show what we can do different and better than the government did. The principles are never attacked. The principles of financial services, for instance. We all understand the value that is to us. But it's the methods each use. Like I said earlier, everyone brings a different dynamic to the leadership role in politics. Mm-hmm. I will bring mine if I get these guys to support it. At some stage, Alden brought his. Everybody brings something different to the table. And that's what is going to happen.
Okay, we have to go to our headline news. We do have one caller on hold. We will take that call as soon as we return from our headline news. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Economics and Statistics Office says unemployment in the second half of 2018 fell by almost 3%. The number of unemployed Caymanians, according to the ESO, fell by 34% to settle at just under 1,000 people, resulting in an unemployment rate for Caymanians of 4.6%. Theresa May has said she will quit as Conservative leader on June 7th, paving the way for a contest to decide a new prime minister. In an emotional statement, she said she had done her best to deliver Brexit, and it was a matter of, quote, deep regret that she'd been unable to do so. Being prime minister had been, quote, the honor of my life, she said. And U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered U.S. intelligence agencies to cooperate with an investigation into whether he was spied on during the 2016 election. The probe, headed by Attorney General William Barr, is examining the origins of the Russia investigation. It has long been requested by Mr. Trump, who labels the inquiry into Russian interference, quote, a witch hunt. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. As promised, we're going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, Amjad.
Good morning to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition and the Deputy and all members of the Opposition and your guests in the studio. First, I want to congratulate the Opposition for this change. I think it is a positive change for the country. Mr. Arden will bring a huge amount of work, and I think he is capable, a leader, and deserve from beginning to be the leader of the opposition. And you know, I think this change will be positive for the country. And I have a question. I just want to know who is now the members of the opposition who support Mr. Arden, and who is the independent members, and if Mr. Arden have attention to join, to bring all the opposition in one side together, so it can be more effective opposition to the to this country. Thank you. I thank Mr. Arden for all his hard work, Mr. Alva Suckoo for his hard work, and I think we need to see more strong work ahead of those 2 years. I think it will be more strong opposition and more positive for the country. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Gentlemen?
Thank you.
Very good
Thank
question.
you, Amjad, for your kind words. I really appreciate that. Despite our differences in the past, you know, people can move on and forgive and forget. That's what life should be about, anyway. And that's what I subscribe to. On the matter of his question is quite timely. Mm-hmm. On the matter of who supports me, there were 4 of us signed a letter to the governor for my appointment. It was myself, the member from Baden Town West, the member from Newlands, and the member from Savannah, and that is Christopher Saunders, Mr. Suckoo, and Mr. Anton Eden. The Constitution requires that the majority of those in the opposition indicate to the governor who they prefer, if there is not a party. But for the purposes of that section, a party is a group. Mm-hmm. I know this Constitution so well, I can even say it word for word almost. On the matter of bringing the opposition together, all of us together, that is what I would like to do. That is my wish, that is my hope, that is my dream. I spoke to Chris this morning, I think, about that. Mm-hmm. We tried recently to do that in all quarters. That was not received well. Certainly that doesn't say that I should give up on it, because, there's always strength in numbers. And these things happen. I mean, OC announced this morning that Theresa May is stepping down. Someone else is going to take it over. That doesn't take anything from her. There are many instances in this country when these things have happened, and we like the old cliche that politics makes strange bedfellows. I don't know if that can be applied as literal as it sounds, because people gravitate to someone because of what they see they can achieve and they can affect. In the case of the Premier now, the government now, it was only 7 PPM members that got elected. And nevertheless, it's a PPM-led administration. So these things happen. We cannot dwell on it. And we notice this has happened many times in our country, and our country moves on, and to the betterment of the country. And I would like to think that Mr. Miller and Mr. Bryan would at some stage join us and deal with these matters, and forge ahead to become the next government. I don't know if that's possible, but that's not to say that I am going to give up hope on it. We are all elected for one purpose, to serve our people. And how we choose to serve those people, we will either be successful or we will pay for that at the polls at the next general election. Sure. I have been fortunate. Maybe some others haven't been as fortunate. Maybe they went the opposite direction from what the people wanted. I don't know whether it was luck on my part or whether it was my work, but I do know this, that every one of us needs to represent our people, and we each can decide in what way we do that. But I will reach out, and if that is not what people want, then I can't. No one holds anybody a gun to anyone's head in this politics. This is an agreement. This is a contract that each of us have with our constituencies, 19 constituencies, and it's an unwritten contract. Anyone can break that contract at any time. The representative can break it. The people of that constituency can break it, and that's what politics is. And you cannot complain when that contract is broken. Whether it's the people, the people break the contract or otherwise. You need to move on with your life. This is a job that you were hired to do. And you fell out of favor with your people, then you move on.
Mm-hmm. And OC,
yes, sir.
I believe politics really is the art of the possible. So I don't think that it is impossible that we will get support from other members of the opposition who and at some later stage and move forward. That would be ideal. If it doesn't happen, as Arden said, it doesn't happen, but it won't be through us putting up our hands and saying, no, we're not working with so-and-so. 19 people were elected in this country to run this country, and we have to work with who is there. We all have to be a little selfish. We all have constituencies and issues and objectives that we want to accomplish. We have to choose the best configuration to get those things done. So it isn't all about who's my friend in there and who I like. It's about the most effective way of getting that agenda completed. So that is something that everybody has to consider. Chris and I were opponents at one stage. I never figured that Chris and I would be working so close together and have such a good working relationship. But that is how things evolve in politics. You never know one day to the next who's going to be, your ally.
That old adage, politics makes strange bedfellows, rings true.
No, I think, Sir Oz, I think you got to look at it differently, because, one of the things I try my best not to do is go back and lay blame as to what has happened in the past, because everyone did what they did based on information they had, and hindsight is always 20/20.
Tell them what Alden used to tell me. Alden told me 1 million times. Every time I would bring up the past, Alden would look at me with glaring eyes. He said, there is no future in the past.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, I ran knowing the many problems and challenges the country had, and still have to this day. And I accept that I am 119 the owner of finding a solution to those problems. One of the things I think we would need to accept, and I think this is part of the cultural shift in Cayman politics, is that in yesteryear we have had too many quote-unquote nice people. And nice don't necessarily get many things done, because right now, if you look at the challenges that Caymanians are facing, we have a lot of people that are paid good money to take the money out of the pockets of hard-working people. And when you do meet those people, nice ain't going to cut it. You're going to need some sons of guns to go up there and deal with them in your face to directly tell them to take their hands out of people's pocket, because there are too many people in this country that is living paycheck to paycheck, and this country is too prosperous for so many people to be struggling. And I think that is ultimately what it is that we're going to need in terms of the next thing. I never ran telling anybody I was nice. And for some people in this country, I know I intend to be very confrontational with and very adversarial with. Because one of the things, OC, that really gets to me, and I will say this to people, I'm not saying that we're going to have a Cayman where everybody is rich. All I'm saying is that we can create a Cayman where nobody's poor and nobody needs to be struggling. And there are just too many families right now that are struggling, and there are too many people that are getting rich. And if you go back to, I've been, the last couple of months, been spending a lot of late nights going through the Federalist Papers in the U.S. And one of the reasons why I was doing that is that is the birthplace of modern democracy in terms of where they overthrow the monarch and they form their government and everything else. And look at the principles in which that they were doing to avoid having a lot of the trouble. Because when you want to go into a situation of majority rule, you start to find ways in which to protect the minority and make sure the minority rights. But at the same time, if one of the things that I caught me in the Federalist Papers, recognizing that those landowners were very rich and were able to raise money to challenge a king, they wanted a country where nobody became super rich, that they could basically challenge the government in terms of And now, surprisingly, and that's why in the U.S. for the longest while, you had a marginal tax rate that was so high, because they didn't want to create these super billionaires that can literally influence government, influence politicians, and the people loses their right. The majority democracy was built on the fact that whether you're rich or you're poor, employed or unemployed, they still only one extra politician. But now it seems as if though the special interests have taken over the country. And what has happened is now the economic power is now driving the political power. And that is where a lot of people are feeling disenfranchised.
Okay. We're going to take a commercial break. We have 3 callers on hold. So as soon as we return from this commercial break, we will take those 3 calls. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Pharmacy Group would like to thank the Cayman communities for their continuous support for over the past decade. CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy opened its doors in March 2000. West Bay Pharmacy first opened their doors in March 2004. The Cayman Pharmacy Group was established in July 2007. Throughout the years, our CPG family has provided more than just pharmaceuticals to our loyal friends and customers. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has protected the lives of our medical community by securing the best healthcare advice and pharmaceutical services. To us at CPG, you are more than just a number. So, we are taking the time to say thank you for choosing CPG. The Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to the phone lines as promised. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Morning. How are you?
All right, on your panel. Congratulations to Mr. McLean. I think he'll do a good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Hazard left a good base for him, so I think it'll be all right.
Okay.
While we're at it about the opposition, I want to bring a little humor to it. I remember one time Haig Borden, when he was opposition, then days you could stay there for days.
Speaking. Yeah.
Speaking. And he had a good command of English language and plus other things, scandalage, you know. Have to walk all of that. But he never got ruled of the house, no time. And this time he was there, he had his big book, ton of pages. I was sort of look at it and ton of pages and went on. So when they got down to the coffee room, somebody took the book and said, Mr. Haig, let's see what all you got written on there. And they start on the pages. You know we had? You was a bunch of idiots. And I really exactly that.
But when you remember when him and Jim Borden were tag teams, you remember that? We have always, in our political history, we have always had, at any given time, two people in there who were like tag team members, you know?
Yeah, Borden twins.
That's right. And him and Jim Borden. Jim Borden had to go to Miami for a small operation on his buttocks, I believe. And Mr. Haig stood up there 5 days rattling off everything to wait for Jim Borden to get back.
Buying time.
Yeah.
Buying time for him. So when Jim Borden got back, one of the other members, I will call no names, said that Jim Borden, they were only making excuses. Nothing had happened to Jim Borden. And Mr. Jim Borden pulled down his pants and showed him in the light. So, you know, those are the times, those are the stories we need to remember.
Yeah.
And I can remember when the two of them, just the two of them, or Mr. Craddock was there with Mr. Willie, but they were getting old, so they weren't much help. I mean, they voted for him. But the two of them handled that government. Haig would get up, and tear them to pieces, say all they want to say, and Jim would wait to the last person to speak again. And twice, I don't want to call no names now, twice, two executive council wouldn't speak, waiting to speak last. So the two of them handled that whole crowd there.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you this one about Miss Hannah now. When she bought that motion of seeing literature. Them dummies or them parts you sell a lot of, we call it other books or books.
Right,
so
by Westwind. Westwind building, yeah.
Yeah. So when he got up, and I don't know how we could get away with these things, when he got up to debate it, he says, sex is beautiful. Miss Anna know about it, and she looked up. I think they said, the Bible way. I mean, how can you get away with things like that? And he said about 3 different times after he got through with it, and then I've seen finding and kind of smiling, and he bringing that on. Miss, I don't know about it the Bible way.
Caller, want to thank you very much for that, Miss.
I was up to the game the other night too, but I couldn't get a player. I had led my boots to Quito. Last time I was there, I picked up 3 years ago. I stayed at 25 minutes, and I got voted man of the match. So
okay.
I have to wear boots this time. I will go to a couple minutes, but I let my boots on through. It was a good game, and it for a good cause. For a good cause, I support all of that.
Excellent. Mr. Ivan,
You all have a blessed day
thank you
now.
very much.
You
Thank
too.
you very much
Thanks
for
for the
that.
call.
Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Couldn't be better, sir. Couldn't be better.
Good morning.
Thankfully, I couldn't be better. And I wish to welcome Mr. McLean in his new role. And also Chris and Alva there. Alva, you've been in that role before, so you have it all put down pat, I guess, by now.
Yeah, there's no excuse now. I got to perform, right?
Morning, Mr. Billy.
Yes, sir. Now, as we move forward and as I look back, because I believe in history, because if you don't study history, you don't know where you come from, you don't know really where you are, and you don't know where you're going, because that's the foundation. And when I look at tourism, I say there's only one minister of tourism we've had who has really understood tourism, and that was Mr. Norman Borden, even unto today. And his plan that he worked on, he didn't work on it, but he let the people work on it. In the same way Mr. McLean was talking a while ago about involving the people in the development plan. And Mr. Borden had over 2,000 people that worked on that in 1992. And that plan still sits unused, and if they had followed it, our tourism product would be so much better today. And I come forward to 2001 when Mr. Kurt Tibbett started an exercise to look at revising the development plan, because as you know, we have been non-compliant and violating the development law, which says you're supposed to revise it every 5 years. Currently, the government, as Mr. McLean correctly said, is going through a piecemeal process of revising it, of course, to suit their own buddies and donators and all the rest of it, rather than for the good of the island. And I would ask him to continue to push for a full review of the development plan, because the one 2001, naturally, they've destroyed. So some of the things don't exist anymore for what they've destroyed between then and now.
We're working off the 97 one now, I think.
Well, you had the 97, but that was so cosmetic, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And if you go back really to 1975, the draft development plan, if that had been followed, we would have had a beautiful island the way that one was designed. And always take a look at that one, Mr. McLean, because I know planning is one thing that I believe is dear to your heart. I remember you're being very involved in the 2001 exercise.
That's correct.
And when we come forward, looking at other people that stand out in my mind, is Mr. Dan Duguay, the first Auditor General that really performed the function of Auditor General. And he's still the champion of Auditor General as far as I'm concerned, speaking personally. And I'd say Mr. Ezzard is the first person that really filled the role of a PAC. He led a PAC that began to do something. The rest of them that were there before were shamefully inadequate and didn't do their job. And I don't know if it's any possibility for him to continue in that role or not, but it would be good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk on the Constitution, I heard you say about involving the people as well. The way they're going about doing the Constitution in secret reminds me of the 1944 Constitution Jamaica got. Because remember, they didn't have a Constitution from 1886 until 1944. And when Roger Mays wrote the article, Now We Know, when the Constitution came out, Sir Arthur Richards, the governor of Jamaica, put him in jail for 6 months. Because he was so critical of it. And I think we're going to go through the same thing this time. So as the leader of the opposition, I would ask you not get suckered into these secret meetings of revising our Constitution. Every jot and tittle of that is important. We shall have elections. We may have elections. All you're changing is one word. So there's no such thing as a minor change to our Constitution.
Okay. Caller, I'm going to ask you to wrap up there for us so that we can accommodate the other caller, because all of you have been waiting for quite a while. So I want to thank you very much for that, caller. Let's see if we can grab the other caller before we go to our 9:30 break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C., and good morning to the rest of them.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And congratulations to Mr. Arden. I'm sure you would do a good job. And let us not forget Ezard. He did, in my opinion, like Billy said, he did an excellent job. And we would always remember him. And I hope that things would go well with all of you that we elected and put in the House to represent us, the people, 19 of you, and could work together and straighten some of this mess up. Like, the rich come from overseas and the Caymanians getting poorer, and Caymanians that want jobs and are educated can't get the positions that they deserve to get. I would like to know and like to see the politicians that step up to that role and say, this person needs to have the job that he or she deserves, because he or she is a Caymanian. And so far, a lot of that is not happening. Caymanians has been pushed aside in their own country by some of these that coming in with a couple of years experience in their field and running the whole show. So I pray for all of you, whether it's going good or whether it's going bad, but I pray all for the good of us, the Caymanians here, that is hoping that people get positions that they deserve, not because their mama or their papa is in government or their mama and their papa is a big shot somewhere else or in this island, and they get the positions even though they don't have the education nor the sense to do the job. They still get the job. I thank you and congratulations again, Mr. Arden. I know you will do a good job because you're a man of your word. Thank you again, and thanks for the rest of you.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to take a commercial break now. We will give our panel here an opportunity to respond to all of those callers. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Why my wife always asking if I'm in a rush when she's the one always making us late?
Might as well say, yeah, I'm in a rush and go buy the new Toyota Rush you've been talking about. Cause they on sale this month. Dial teacher.
The super special spring SUV sale at Vant Motors. Save up to $4,400 with SUVs starting at only $23,500, like the 7-seater Toyota Rush. Save money, get cash back, or use the discount to upgrade features on the SUV of your choice, including the Toyota RAV4, the Fortuner, the Rush, or the Ford EcoSport. It's our super special spring SUV sale. Only at Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Road Rack Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
Every Saturday morning at 9.
Bob, you got to turn around this plane. See my box down there with my parrot and rabbits.
Right here on Radio Cayman.
In Cayman, we are surrounded by water and make our living by farming the sea.
Come join us as we proudly present Caymanian Stories.
The whole problem started when Kanka promised Mrs. June that she would babysit her daughter, Lil Kelly, one Saturday afternoon.
Caymanian Stories is proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank, serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all your financial needs. For
the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm going to be like a politician now and break a promise that I made just before we went to the commercial break. We have one caller, and we'll debate that later on too. We have one caller still on hold, so we're going to take that caller, and we have one WhatsApp message. I didn't name the politician, and I say I feel like a politician. So we're going to take the caller, and then we're going to play a WhatsApp, a voice message that we received as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you? Caller, good morning. Let's try the voice note then. Okay, we're coming up. We're going to be sharing a voice note with you. We may have lost some of that transmission.
Good morning, OC. My input on this situation with the dock is, have I already mentioned to Kenneth Bryan, the government isn't looking at this from all sides. They're not looking at it from our safety point of view. Because remember, in Hurricane Ivan, we had water past our post office going up the road. Now, if they dig out there, the waterfront, to have ocean water come on shore, only God knows. Only God would know how far that the water would reach whenever a hurricane come, God forbid. I mean, they're not looking out for the safety of the island. Money is just covering their eyes. They're all about the money. They're not about the safety. If the people are not here, why would people want to visit? If that loving Caymanian kind and hospitality is not here to give, I mean, what are they coming to? Who are they coming to?
Okay, we want to thank that caller for that. We want to apologize for the quality of the latter part of it, but that's really beyond our control. Have we reconnected with that caller? Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Rambo. A brief one. You were 2 years ago doing the Sabbath, right? That finalized, right? The whole Orthodox conceptual of it. Boris Johnson on the corner, right? In Jeremy Corbyn. So that's a different monumental flex now. So how you how navigate this or curtail this properly? Now keep my waters out territory, right? Like I say again, decipher a proper reconstitution, right? Because UK derailing turbulence, right?
Mm-hmm.
No proper jet stream airflow. So analyze that carefully. Gentlemen, have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Rambo.
I didn't get it.
Several things he mentioned about Theresa May. Go ahead, Chris.
There's not really much. I mean, we can do with regards to the what the outcome of the UK new leadership will. What we can do is prepare for the eventualities in terms of one, what may happen in terms of a cabinet reshuffle, or two, later on down, what would happen in the general election. What I can say is that one, I'm glad she's gone, because two, the Conservative Party had no chance in hell in terms of even retaining the government as she remained. And I'm hoping with at least, I think it was 2 years left, probably, or a couple of years left on the current Conservative government term, that maybe some leader can emerge that can probably fix the Conservative Party for them to win. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the last thing the Cayman Islands need is a Labour government with crazy old Jeremy Corbyn up there. Because when you sit down and you listen to these people and the words that come out of their mouth, I mean, I can tell you right now, the world is being serviced by some really dumb leadership in some of these major countries. I mean, I look at the tax over and over, and even our little Cayman Islands, and for 20 odd years they've been chasing money down here, money that is actually in their country, that have never left their country and come here, and all they're basically doing is just trying to just destroy us. The little that we have, barely taking anything, but the little that we have, they still want to take. It's as if though they want to be the only countries in this planet that have anything, and every other country should be third world and just be waiting for them to come down there and spend their little tourist dollars or whatever. So, good riddance to her, and I wish to God whoever takes over the Conservative Party can at least do something to help it back, because, again, right now, I mean, well, the good news, at least in the last local elections, both the Conservative and the Labour got a drubbing. So I hope that is something that continues. But the last thing we want is crazy Jeremy in 10 Downing Street.
Yep. Oh, see,
sure.
Going back to the caller about the port, I guess it's safe to say, I think the referendum group have now reached the number of signatures they need to trigger a referendum, but that is not going to be the ultimate solution to the problem. What we do need now is to decide how we go forward with regard to cruise berthing, and if we do it at all, and so on. But what we need to look at, I think, is, and this is linked to the development plan, this is also linked to the bigger plans that we have in mind for this country. What do we want our tourism product to look like? What do we want to sell in terms of people coming here and experiencing Cayman? My mindset right now is not that we need to compete with the larger ports, the more busy ports, the destinations. What we need to start looking at now is how do we create a product that is unique and distinct and stays that way. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with us selling Cayman as a jurisdiction, as a destination that not only isn't willing to destroy its natural environment for the sake of the tourism dollars,
yes,
but building on that to say that is what makes us unique and stand out, and saying to visitors and the cruise companies and whoever else, you can come here, you can come in your smaller ships, you can bring your visitors, they can enjoy Cayman, but we're not going to destroy our environment for the sake of it, and build more on the natural resources that we have, preserve those, and stand out, differentiate ourselves from other jurisdictions who have gone, with the high volume model. I think that's where we need to start looking, because I think we're at a turning point now where we're going to see that there's going to be a significant shift in what happens now with cruise berthing and the decisions on that. And I want to congratulate those who have been involved in this effort so far for what they have done. And they have accomplished something. I think you were talking about great moments in this show today. This is another great moment. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to congratulate them and thank them for their efforts, because they have persevered and they have accomplished something significant for this country. And let's not detract from that as well.
Okay. Any responses to some of the callers? Mr. Billy Adam, for instance,
actually,
some of the things that he spoke about?
I think to give credit, and that's one thing I've always admired about Mr. Billy, in the sense of always talking about planning. Because if there's one thing that we have really failed the Caymanian people with, is long-term planning in this country. I mean, right now we saw that a day record number of work permits, and then previous weeks before we saw where 1,400 permanent residence application were done in 1 year. And no one, right now we have a runaway economy that no one is really sitting down and taking a look at it. I give an example. Looking at the last stats, 9%, roughly around 9% of our workforce is involved in financial services industry. that drives close to 60% of our GDP. So when you're looking at that small amount of people contributing such a large amount towards driving the GDP, it means then that there are a lot of different jobs that are dependent or offshoot of the success of the financial services industry and also of the tourism industry, because those are the two industries that actually brings money in. And what we're not looking at in terms of the number of work permits, the question we need to ask ourselves is, where are these work permits driven? What's driving the number up? Is it in construction? Because if so, then it's going to be short-lived. I mean, how do you sit down and plan an economy? Equally so, we look again, talking about Caymanian talent. We have done no real study, no real report to find out exactly where the Caymanian talent is, where the Caymanians are truly employed, where exactly do we expect them to be. It is these kind of long-term planning where we are. You know what I mean? And if you look, I was looking at the other night at the companion of statistics, and I was looking at the nominal GDP that the government likes to brag about in terms of the GDP growth and also the real GDP. And when you look at it, you realize that the GDP is also being driven seriously by inflation. You know what I mean? And these are the kind of stuff that we need to start looking at and really seeing what policies we can do to combat inflation, because you just can't have this country run away where the prices keep going up every day, but nobody wages is actually moving towards it. And equal at the same time, too, we're looking about, we like to brag about the low unemployment number. The biggest issue for us has never been employment. It has always been underemployment. Caymanian not maximizing their potential, not looking at what it is that they can fully achieve. And these are the kind of stuff that the government needs to start answering to and saying, what are their plans in terms of managing this? But you just can't be approving PR willy-nilly. You just can't be approving work permits willy-nilly and not looking at the long-term effect. You got right now, in the next month, you got 1,000 kids coming out of school. Some will be going on to higher education. Some will want to enter the workforce. Where are they going to go? Where are the jobs? You know what I mean? And at the same time, too, we got to also accept that we have imported serious cheap labor in this country. We have foreigners that are being exploited in this country. And what people don't recognize is that as we allow them to exploit foreigners, what we're also allowing them to do is drive down the wages that Caymanians need to live. Mm-hmm. By pushing the market prices down.
Exploiting Caymanians at the same time that they're exploiting.
So it does both ways, and at the same time too, we have also, and this is a very uncomfortable subject that people want to deal with, we have now seriously imported some levels of racism in this country that needs to be addressed. You have some nationalities that in their own country, we know where they're coming from. Those countries have a history of racism, and we have allowed these people to come inside here and set up roots, and they have now practicing the same things that they did in those countries. Why those countries didn't even want them there to begin with. So these are issues that we need to seriously start tackling. And this whole era of this nice government and this nice stuff needs to be done. People need to put their foot down now, and I love it. Too many Caymanians right now basically saying enough is enough. And if people don't realize what people power is, look at what those people did on the cruise port referendum. The days of politicians just sitting down and thinking that they can push things through based on numbers is over. It's time now for the people.
Same thing as Brexit. What do you think caused Brexit? It's the people. It's about the people that goes nicely for me into. Just last night, I didn't think I would have to come into this role, have to deal with any controversy in the first day. Just last night, I was called by the family of 100-year-old plus lady at the East End Sunrise Cottage. They were called yesterday and told that they were shutting the Sunrise Cottage down on the 31st of May. Mm-hmm. Why? Because it is not suitable to house older persons. Really? 40 plus years that been there, Now I understand if it's structural, the structural integrity of it is wrong. Mm-hmm. But don't they understand that it is the people we are serving? It is the people we are serving. We are serving people, and that's our job. And so what are we going to do on the eastern end when we got people in North Side and no place for them to go to?
So the intentions of moving them to where?
To West Bay.
Wow.
Golden Age. Really, we could move 100-plus-year-old woman to West Bay and shut down the little place. Now, we all knew that place was the teacher's cottage. And the doorways were not wide enough. I can understand them saying we're shutting it down to repair it and stuff. But, I'm going to have to address this. Not only that, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. It's downright disrespectful as a representative. I was not even notified. But those are the things that we need to start looking at in this country. The value of our people. How much value we place on them, especially those who are much older and those who are very young.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Rotaract Blue, in support of the Cayman Special Needs Community, present the 11th Annual Open Arms Gala, The Great Gatsby. Saturday, May 25th at Ristorante Papagayo. Cocktails begin at 6 p.m. 3-course dinner, award ceremony, silent auction at 7 p.m. Attire is Gatsby chic. Your ticket is only $100 per person. Your table only $1,500. Tickets available online at eventpro.ky or email president.rotaractblue@gmail.com. The Open Arms Program promotes care, understanding, and non-discrimination for disabled persons. The Great Gatsby by Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
Radio Cayman 11 a.m. News Headlines is brought to you by Savannah Pharmacy.
Savannah Pharmacy, just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Stay updated with the very latest news from Cayman, the region, and around the world. The 11 o'clock headlines, brought to you by
Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before I, we've closed the phone lines off. Before I give my guests an opportunity for some final comments, I think I would like to share with you what I have shared with them in relation to changes to the Anguillan Constitution, because we have been talking about changes here to our Constitution as well, some of which we know that the UK has agreed to, but there are some that are still under consideration, and hopefully we'll get a response from to them soon. But quite recently, there was an order in council that was issued on the Tuesday, the 14th of May 2019, in relation to changes to the Anguillan Constitution order. And those changes it changes the title of the Chief Minister to Premier, and introduces a limit of 2 consecutive terms for the Premier to be able to serve, similar to Cayman's Constitution.
Yeah, but we started that.
Yeah. It substitutes the term Anguillan for a person who belongs to Anguilla, and revise the categories of people who qualify as Anguillans. And that is because in the Anguillan Constitution, they define who is an Anguillan there, as opposed to where we have left it in our immigration law, as opposed to it being in our Constitution. The changes also makes there is also some changes to the qualification of elected membership in the House of Assembly in Anguilla, and also to the qualification of voters, and it also enables the establishment by legislation of an island-wide single electoral district. That is in addition to the single-member electoral districts which Anguilla is now divided. So in addition to having single-member constituencies, they will have what is called an at-large seat as well.
Only one?
Yes. One, a single electoral district.
You remember I fought for that till I came in, but I didn't get an attraction.
Right. Also, with effect from the next dissolution of the Anguillan House of Assembly, they have abolished the office of nominated members of the House of Assembly. That's something antiquated that the UK government put in place to ensure
Especially
that they retain control,
yeah.
because those appointments were made by the governor. The Queen's
Especially if you don't have a bicameral
well.
system.
So we wanted to basically share that, with you, those changes in.
And I should
Anguilla
share
as
with
well.
you that I have kept close contact with Mark, my friend in BVI. He won his case. Second, third of this month.
But he still hasn't been sworn in.
Because the speaker now appealed it?
Yes.
There is something serious going on between the speaker and my good friend Mark. I don't know. And then the former speakers, Ingrid, she's somewhere in there as well that is trying to assist with it. But I'm in constant contact with these guys, and it just doesn't make sense if
Okay, so we're going to get some quick closing comments. We're going to start with the Mr. Saunders, then we will go in order of seniority. Then we'll go to Mr. Suckoo, and then we'll have the leader of the opposition have the final say.
No, first of all, thanks very much. Sorry, you caught me off guard. I was preparing a message to send out to my Beach Bay residents to give them an update on the meeting that we had the other night. But I just want to say thanks again for having us this morning, and thanks for all the callers who contributed. I want to congratulate Mr. McLean for his appointment as the leader of the opposition, and also Alva as his reappointment to the post of deputy leader of the opposition. One of the things that we want to focus on, and this was one of the questions that someone had posed earlier, is in terms of where do we go from here. And I think one of the things that people need to recognize with the Westminster system is that it calls for a short campaign period. Right now, our focus is on working with the government and supporting them where we can, and make sure we're advocating for Caymanians where we should, especially with regards to trying to make their lives better. Like we said, there's a lot of prosperity in this country, but unfortunately, a lot of our people aren't getting their piece of the pie. And I'm not going to get up and say to anybody that, that there's any boogeyman that's out there deliberately trying to make their life miserable. But I think both the economy, the country, and the government has reached a point where it is beyond the understanding of some people in terms of what needs to be done. And I think this is really where the issue is. I've always said time and time that there's a big difference between knowledge and applied knowledge. And what we're having right now is being able to apply proper policies to the issues that we need. We need good planning in this country. We need a good human capital planning to see where we are and exactly where our talents are and where the jobs that we expect for Caymanians. Equally so, we cannot continue to have the open immigration policies that we have and just have an influx of people, because what it does, it creates demand, it creates an increased demand. And we're already seeing it right now in terms of the rise in prices, in terms of rent. We're already seeing it now with special interest rates and everything else going up, where people are losing their purchasing power because inflation is becoming a silent killer in this country. So those are the kind of things that we need to tackle. Now, this is where we expect the older government to account, is that they need to be doing a lot more for Caymanians. And I think this is where we need to ensure that this pie, the pie that we built, the pie that our forefathers built, is there to serve many Caymanians. And that is really our priority right now, is to find ways to put money back in people's pockets.
Mm-hmm. Hello, C. I think Chris said it all, but I can try and add to that. And I want to lead off by thanking you and of course, the public for having us on here today. And to congratulate Arden once again and give him my commitment as his deputy to continue to put in the effort and the hard work. But, Chris said it just now. What we don't want Cayman to become is a country where, despite your best efforts and despite all that you put into developing yourself and improving yourself, you still end up not getting the benefits of that effort. And I'm worried that we're at that point, because I see so many living examples of Caymanians who have tried, really tried, and they still can't survive on a level that they should, where they're able to sustain themselves and their families, and live, just survive happily. That is what we want for our people. People don't need to be under the stress of, high cost of living and worrying about educating their children, taking their kids or their parents to the doctor, getting good health care, getting good health insurance. There's a list of issues that we have to deal with. The answers are not always easy, but I think that we really now need to turn our heads to providing some solutions to those problems. Start looking at things like becoming more sustainable, where we're able to, maybe introduce a low level of manufacturing, developing our agriculture. Things like that make us self-sufficient and able to support ourselves and less reliant on the outside world, because a lot of our inflation is driven by the outside world, and we have to find ways to combat that. Look at the development plan. Look at the things we're doing. That Mr. McLean opened my eyes the other night at Mr. Saunders' meeting. There's some things that he revealed there that I wasn't even aware of. The way things were done with this development plan and why things are being done a certain way, that when you really listen to what he said there, it scares you. All of these things we now need to put our heads together and start to come forward with solutions and not just look at re-election, but look at providing this country with the government it needs. I remember saying this to the Premier in 2013 when I was green and naive and new to politics. We all got elected, and I turned to him and I said, finally the country has a government that is for the people. And unfortunately, it did not turn out that way for me. I ended up where I am now today because of the things that I stand for, the principles that I have, and what I believe in. And that isn't going to change. So I'm glad I'm aligned with who I'm aligned with. I am ready now to work and give this country the government it needs.
Okay. Mr. McLean.
Thank you. See, all I can say is ditto. I don't need to say much more than that.
Ditto.
See,
there's a joke about that one too.
Yeah.
Dr. McField
and
tells us.
To my fellow Caymanians, I would pose a question to us all. Who knows best what this country needs? It is us. It is us. And that does not confine itself to the 19 members of the Legislative Assembly. It is us as a people. We know what we need. For instance, Chris and Al and all of us, and they speak quite passionately about prosperity and the boats rising with the tides. And let's not rejoice because the hole is in my end of the boat. One of our biggest problems in this country is that minimum wage. And it's a simple fix. I've always said that. Government's minimum wage is somewhere around $9.00. All we don't need a minimum wage law in this country. All we need to do is say we're not approving any more work permits under what government pays as their bottom wage. Mm-hmm. And it's over. If we believe that we and government will not hire anyone who's paying anything less than that to anybody, that's the simple solution to our minimum wage. We cannot sit down and allow our people to be below the poverty line and expect that they're not going to come and try to live. Surviving is one thing, but living is another. I believe that is one of the major priorities this country has to deal with, that I know my colleagues We have all committed to improving the lives of our people. I give my commitment to doing what I believe is in the best interest of my people and listening to them and hearing what their views are on those suggestions that I may have and that we may all have. The other thing I want to talk about briefly, OC, is they have these refugees in my immigrants in my civic centre in Gunby. Understand that was not the intent. I am seriously working on that because they were supposed to go elsewhere. And if these people can be out into the community, why aren't they placed in rental apartments? I mean, are we going to treat them in such manner if they're waiting for political asylum? And they said it was because they were renovating the place down here. Now, and then they were moving them to someplace else, and there was... Bottom line is that I was not notified properly. Now it's time that I go talk to the Premier about it on behalf of my people.
Okay, folks.
So thank you all, and OC, and all the best to the Cayman Islands.
Okay, I want to thank you all also for being here this morning, folks. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. Rotary Central, for more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. And Roper's Janitorial, complete janitorial service for commercial, industrial, and residential. They get the job done right every time.